This is the Funny Mummies podcast, the podcast for people that hate parenting podcasts. I'm Hatty Ashdown, comedian, writer, actress and mother to two very lively boys. Each show, I'm joined by funny mummies from the world of comedy, arts and everyone who can help us in this crazy world of parenting. So settle in as we find the funny side of parenting and being bloody great women. Hello, welcome to series 4, a whole brand new series. We've been having a little break, but now we're back. We hope you're well. It's summer here now as I record. It's summertime in the UK. It's hot. It means it's time for me to get my cycling shorts out. Not because I'm going to do any cycling, because I'm trying to prevent the chub rub. Yeah, it's been a long lockdown. So how are you doing? I hope you're doing all right. I hope you've been listening back to a back catalogue to keep you going while we had a little mini break. And now we're back. And to kick us off with a brand new episode, this voice you can hear is me, Hatty Ashdown, of course. And joining me on this episode was my regular co-host, Gemma Beagly. Whew, what a summer she's having so far. And to kick us off is a brand new guest to the Funny Mummies. Now, let me tell you, she is a regular on the comedy circuit in the UK, as well as a writer for TV like Newsjack. She co-presented the mid-morning show on BBC Radio Leeds, won the first laugh at the Sheffield Comedy Festival, and her Edinburgh show about a boy, Adventures in Adoption, has been described as narrative comedy at its most vibrant and enriching. And I will add to that, if you've ever had the pleasure of seeing her or hearing her live, she's just one of those performers you just feel so safe with. And quite frankly, I want her to adopt me. It's Bradford mum of 3, Isma Almas. Now, before we go into the record, let me first please apologise for the terrible quality of my mic. Something went a little bit wrong and disconnected, and I sound like I'm talking down a drain. But please bear with it, because Isma, not only does she have a sweet, sweet microphone, she has a lovely, such listenable voice that just forget about me on this one and listen to her wonderful Bradford tones. Enjoy. You're listening to the Funny Mummies podcast. It's like a meet up with your favourite non-judgy mum mates. Welcome, Isma. Thank you so much for coming on. This is the joy of lockdown, is that it's opened up a world of people to us. And I think I sort of became noticed you through Jen Brister, actually. We've had Jen Brister on the show. Okay. And you're good friends, aren't you? Well, yes. My stalking on social media. Yeah, we're friends. So, before we get into it, because I really want to talk about your show and your adoption journey without sounding too much like something from Long Lost Family. But I'm interested because of what we do, Funny Mummies. We always have comedians or comedians of some kind on the show, and it's all about balancing comedy and kids and blah, blah, blah life. I've been listening and trying to do a bit of research on you, but I haven't really heard how you came into doing comedy. Was it before being a mum or after, or sort of? Yeah.
So, it was after I became a mum. So I became a mum, and I think my girls were like maybe 7 and 9 or something. And I went to a comedy night, and I'd always had this urge to do something different, but wasn't quite sure what it was. But I kind of fell into a very, kind of into a career and working and all that. And then I just one night went to a comedy show, and the whole time the comedians were on, the only thing going through my mind was, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. And so I rang. It was the days before kind of, like Google and, the internet, really. So I rang. Well, the internet was there, but I don't think I knew how to use it. So it was the days where you had to buy time out to see the listings for the comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember those days? So I rang the theatre that the comedy show had been on, tracked down the promoter, rang him up and said, can I please have a turn? And he said, yeah, come along next month and do 5 minutes. And that's what I did, yeah.
And where was that? Where was that, Isma?
It was in Bradford. Bradford at the local theatre.
And so obviously that went well. Or some people say, isn't that the thing of it either goes really well and you're like, yeah, I want to do this, or it doesn't go very well and it makes you go, I want to get better at this.
Yeah, no, it went really well. And I think what really surprised me was I started talking and then this noise hit me and I thought, oh my God, what is that noise? And it was people laughing. And I hadn't anticipated that. And that was a real shock.
Really?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, when do I speak? People are laughing. Do I carry on talking? Do I wait for them to stop? What happens? It was all of that. But I loved it. Yeah. And I just kind of carried on from there, really. And and I, kind of thought I was the bee's knees until about gig number 3 when I absolutely died on my arse, and I was like, oh my God, I got booed off the stage. But yeah, just carried on from there.
You kept going. What sort of stuff was you talking about then? Do you remember? Because obviously you would have been quite a young mum. I know you had the 2 girls.
Yeah. Do you know what I used to do? I used to put a whole burqa on. Right, so I'd go on stage with the whole burqa on, right? All you could see was eyes. I'd like full face covered, everything. And I would go on stage and I would say, I've pulled a sickie at work.
That's all you needed.
That was a matter. But yeah, that
great open line. Brilliant. Oh my God. And this was in just clubs, just kind of mainstream clubs, was it?
Yeah, mainstream clubs, theatres, just kind of, that's, just messing around really, and just just messing around with, being Asian, being Muslim, cultural stereotypes,
So, what year are we talking here, Isma?
Okay, so let me have a think. I'd say, about 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
Were there any other?
Shazia was around.
Shazia,
yeah. And I think that was it at the time, female. But it was just, it felt like you could, really explore and talk about, just kind of mess around and just work out what it was that you actually wanted to say.
Do you feel it was, because me and Gemma like hearing and talking about the sort of late 80s, 90s days of stand-up, because there's certain, we wasn't there, but there's a certain amount of it that, I don't know, sort of seems like it was better days, but then obviously we're a lot more sexist.
Yeah.
What would you say was the sort of...
What was the mood in the green room, I suppose?
What was the mood in the green room? I would say the mood in the green room was very much, bloke orientated. Very male dominated. There weren't, you were very lucky if you got on a bill with another woman. It was often just you and a room full of men. And even the open spots, I just remember just being so intimidated by them because they were just so blokey. And even the blokey ones that weren't blokey would really big themselves up and really and you'd think, oh my God, this is like going to be like the next big thing out there, and they're gonna then they'd get on stage and they'd be shit, and I think, oh my God, the bravado that you had in the green room was like incredible, and just like but actually you haven't got a lot of substance behind that. But having said that, there were some absolutely wonderful male friends that I made, comedians and female, that I still am in touch with on Instagram and stuff. So yeah, I'd say pretty much as it is now, really, with some lovely people in amongst that.
Yeah, thankfully it's got a lot better, and we can have almost 3-4 women on a whole lot.
Yes.
And, how did it all fit with as you got busier then? How did you juggle it with your kids? Did you ever get to a point where you were like, oh, I'm too tired to go and gig, or was it always a release or something?
No, it was. I got to a point where I was gigging kind of 3 or 4 times a week, and I was still working. So in social work, so I was a social worker. Working, had the kids. So I was divorced. So we had the kids, half and half. So half the week they'd be with me, half the week they'd be with my ex-husband. And I tried to gig on the days where I didn't have the kids, or on weekends where I didn't have them. But it was still really hard because sometimes I would be driving to Bristol, get there, do the gig, get off stage, do my 5 minutes or my 10 minutes, get off stage, get back in the car, drive, get home at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and then have to get up and be back at my desk at 9. So it was just completely exhausting. I think I can see why there are far more men in comedy than there are women, but it was just absolutely exhausting, kind of doing, juggling everything, juggling the kids, juggling comedy, juggling work. So then I kind of took a show to Edinburgh. That was my first show. That was, I don't know how many years ago that was. And then I kind of just went back to comedy, but very, very part-time. So I would do it just a few times a year. And I just kind of almost came off the circuit because I couldn't do everything.
And would you say you prefer doing, how many sort of hour shows and stuff have you done then?
I've done two. So I did one years and years ago, and then I did About a Boy a couple of years ago. And
do you find now like you're like, oh, I prefer doing like working on doing an hour show because it's less?
Yeah, I do, and it's really, and it feels like you're doing it for yourself. Rather than, is this going to fit in my set? Is this going to need something to really kind of start with a bang and and try to fit something into 20 minutes? It just feels like actually you can really make the points you want to make. You can talk at length really for whatever it is that you want to talk about. And when you're on the circuit, I don't think a generic set allows you to do that. So I much prefer Edinburgh and just being able to say what you need to say night after night after night. I loved that.
And I think, especially as a parent, when they're smaller anyway, but, you're going out and you go all the way there for 10 minutes. Sometimes you're like, but, it just feels a bit more substantial when you're doing your show and you can book yourself in like any other sort of job, really, freelance work. If you were a TV producer, you might do that for a couple of months and then you're off. But so it's just something I'm working towards at the moment anyway, sort of, because I'm working towards a new hour and I'm sort of hoping that I'll be able to sort of tour it at some point. So rather than doing these little bits, I'm sure some listening not knowing what we're going on about, but basically in comedy you either do the circuit or you work towards an hour one-woman show.
And I think as well, when you're doing the hour, the people that are sitting there in front of you have come to specifically hear what you have to say. They're not there because they want to see the headliner or they just want to,
bank comedy.
They just, they've come specifically. They know, what your show is about, and they've come to hear what you have to say about it.
And especially if you've got a wonderful theme like you have. Which brings us on. So, because I've done a bit of research, I'm like, and I know you've talked about, obviously, and also you're doing the show again in July.
Yes, at the Soho Theatre,
I wish I'd known, because we could have watched it first, then we could have talked. But I'm still going to come.
Amazing.
I love Soho Theatre as well, so I'm there, and you might be my first thing I'm seeing. I haven't really seen anything yet.
Oh, that would be an honour.
So we'll give those dates at the end. But so tell people, obviously we won't give a lot away, but so you adopted a little boy like 6 years ago now?
Yeah, and he was 2. And the show is basically about why we adopted him, why we actually decided to have a child, why we went down the adoption route, how we actually adopted him, the whole adoption process, and what happened afterwards.
Because I was thinking, I've always been fascinated, and I heard you say this on another podcast, that you'd always been fascinated, but with adoption, and I don't know why. I think when I was really young, I had this feeling that I might not be able to have my own children, so right. I think maybe my head went to prepare myself, maybe partly that. I don't know. I think also I just thought, there's so many children in the world that need hope. Yeah. But then I did have my own birth children, and I realised I don't think I'm a very good mum. I think I'm basically, I just don't feel like good enough to adopt. But and I'm very, very tired, and because I ended up having children quite late in life, in my late 30s and early 40s. So. Now I'm very tired. You describe him, so let's, rather than let's go where we are now, sort of thing, then, because I love that you describe him as the love of your life.
He is. Yeah.
Which because I just nearly cried. So tell us a little bit, because I've been looking on your Instagram, and you do just both look like you have so much fun and a lovely bond. Tell us a little bit about his personality.
Oh, he's just incredible. He is just such a gentle boy. He's just wonderful. He's just the perfect son for me. He's just the perfect child for me. He's just incredible. I can't, he is just gentle. He's caring. He's loving. He's just your average 8-year-old kid, He has his moments, as we all do. Yeah. And he's incredible. Yeah.
He's very considerate. So, so you, would you say, so you both wanted to adopt, would you say that he has picked up traits? Because, I think you're a very gentle and loving person.
I think he definitely has. Like, sometimes, he'll do stuff and he'll just remind me of myself. He'll give me a little look or raise an eyebrow or, and I think, oh my God, that is me. That is me. And I think one of the things that I really was worried about with adoption was because I've got 2 birth children as well. I've got 2 birth daughters and then my son. And with my daughters, if they were feeling a certain way or if they behaved in a certain way or they said something, I instinctively knew what was behind that behaviour. I kind of knew why they'd said something or why they'd done something without them actually saying it. And I was really worried that I wouldn't have that with him, but I completely do. He will say something or he will ask a question and I'll say, okay, are you asking this question because of He'll say, yes, I am. And quite a few times I've said stuff to him and he'll say to me, Mum, can you read my mind? So I feel that,
So the instinct is there.
Completely. The instinct, the bond, absolutely, it's there.
It's absolutely incredible, and I think so. You're is it a partner? Is it partner?
So
you adopted together, partner, And I sort of don't want you to say anything about the show because I'm going to come and see it. So it's difficult to get anything out of you, but I suppose maybe I could ask about sort of the age gap then. I suppose between your daughters and your son. Yeah. What is the age gap?
So the age gap is my eldest is 27, and then the next one is 23, and then my son is 8. So huge age gap. And at times when the girls aren't here, they don't, one is currently in Spain. She's due back next week, but she's been there for a year. The other one kind of doesn't live at home. But when all 4 of us are at home, it sometimes is like he's got 4 mums, and he's like, if he falls out with one of us, he's like, oh, fuck you, I've got 3 more,
Has your career as a social worker helped you being the mum of an adopted child, or do you think you know too much? Like, what would you say?
I think bit of both, really. So sometimes it's a good thing, and other times I think, oh my God, I know too much, because then you start over-analysing. So I think there's a fine line between kind of knowing stuff that helps you and informs you and kind of, but then there's the other danger, which is the over analysing and, oh my God, I just said that to him. Oh my God, have I damaged him in some way? Or, or if he says something immediately, oh my God, what does this mean? So it's really hard to kind of, bring ourselves, because my partner is also a social worker. So,
really?
Poor kid, he stands no chance, does he? Really?
It reminds me of, did you ever watch I think that was the 90s, My So-Called Life? Do you ever remember that program?
Oh, it was was Claire Danes in there?
Claire Danes,
yeah.
And there was a character who in that called Brian, who fancied her, and it just made me think of that. This is really random, and I think his parents were social workers or maybe therapists. I can't remember, and I just remember he was like this geeky teenager anyway, but then he had these social worker parents, and they were like, Brian, do you want to come down? And the other parent was like, but you don't have to. We can talk about it. And it was just like, for God's sake, can you just be like normal parents and not so understanding? I didn't think about that, because I've got a few friends that are social workers and stuff, and I think they'd probably be like, oh my gosh, the things we see and know. Yeah. But obviously, you said, you'd always been fascinated with adoption. Was that? So it obviously didn't.
Yeah, I'd always kind of, I think, from a young age, thought, I'd love to adopt. I'd love to adopt. So that was always in my mind. And then when we, started to seriously consider it, it was like, yeah. And I think I'd always known that it was something that I was going to do. Just wasn't sure about when it would actually happen in my life. But I always had this feeling.
Like stand up, you see.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it. Yeah. And I think with adoption as well, I just knew that it was something that I was going to do at some point in my life, just not when it was going to happen.
Wow, you got good intuition. Would you say you're a person with good intuition?
Intuition, and also poor impulse control as well. So sometimes if I want to do something, I'll just do it. Without actually thinking it through. So sometimes I do act on my impulses, which again is a good and a bad thing.
And is your partner like that, or does she pull you back a bit?
My partner is the complete opposite of me. She is just really steady, level-headed, calm, rational, whereas I am just an emotional hothead and just, Yeah.
So I guess that's the perfect.
It is. It really is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But does that mean? Is there any scenarios where, with especially bringing up a child, where it's like, we need to take them to A&E? Like, that's me.
Yeah.
But is your partner the one saying he's fine? We really don't.
I think it's probably because I grew up, so my partner is actually from Surrey, had a very, what I would class a middle class lifestyle, middle class upbringing, parents are still together, whereas I came from, I grew up on a council estate, really, really working class, my dad had 2 wives, just a very different setup. And I had the sort of childhood where children raise themselves, where you kind of I remember just roaming the streets with a gang of kids on the council estate, with a herd of dogs following us. That is what we did. That is, and just like fending for ourselves, and just this really, really rough childhood, but equally one that was filled with adventure and experimentation and risk-taking, not necessarily good risk-taking, whereas I think for me sometimes I think that clouds my judgment. So like he's 8 and I'll be like, oh yeah, let's let him do that, let's let him do that. Oh yeah, when I was 8 I was doing XYZ, and my partner's like, no, it's not. He's 8. let's not go down that road just yet. So I am far more, kids should be taking risks. Yeah, we should be letting children kind of have choices and go off and do things. So
oh right, interesting. Yeah, no, I've not really I'm similar. I consider myself working class background, you might guess from my accent, and my husband middle class.
Yeah.
As I say, I thought, oh, he speaks nice. He might be a bit rich. No, he's not rich. Just speaks nice. Typical sort of academic background where they used to have money, but now they've just got lots of books and.
That bloody grammar school system that tricks you into thinking these well-educated people have got money.
Yeah. No, they're all lovely, and but yeah, our thing is he's quite calm though, and I guess I am the one that's like, look, I think we should take him to A&E, and it's just because I was talking to my sister. I said he drives me crazy sometimes because he's so calm, but she said to me, look, but you wouldn't if you had somebody who was more like you. Yeah. I said, you can imagine we'd both be up A&E every 5 minutes, and she's like, yeah, you'd be there with a care plan. But yeah, so I guess we have to have these balances from somewhere in our lives. Which is funny enough because I was talking to or moaning with a friend, like we do, like to at the moment, is about the mental load actually. So I feel like I'm really stereotyping here, but I often, me and Gemma say, like, I just have this dream that to be with a woman that surely the mental load is just shared so much better. And I know it shouldn't be like that because I do have some male friends who are really good, and I know they're. I have a male comedian friend who he does the daytime, he looks after the kids in the day. And it all works very well, actually, in that way. But I have a majority of my female friends, their male partners, just rubbish. And when I say the mental load, it's like, yeah, they might be good at, keeping things ticking along, like dishwasher and all that kind of thing. But just all the extra bits of, like, knowing when your kids' photograph is going on at school, or
when half term is,
birthday parties,
birthday parties, all that sort of stuff. Their diary, because you become their PA, which is one thing no one ever told me about being a parent, that you are their PA. But so tell us, is the dream true?
No.
Isma, is it
no.
just like
No, it's not. So sorry to shatter it. Yeah. No, we've had numerous conversations about mental load. And I think it's when we have a bit of an issue where we both try and be responsible for something. So how we've divided this mental load now is we have clear demarcation lines. So her stuff now is everything that he needs for school. So she prepares all of that, and also stuff, and I'm really grateful for this, for stuff outside of the home. So the mental load for when the bins need taken out, the lawn needs mowing, all the kind of, we need to get a plumber, we need to get, somebody to come and look at this window, etc. So yeah, we have very clear now lines, because we tried to kind of do this mental load with sharing. It wasn't working, so now we've just kind of played to our strengths and also as well, hers is washing as well. It was mine, but I've completely handed it over. So we find it works better when one person takes full responsibility for something rather than both of you trying to share it, or so that works for us.
Okay, I need to do. Yeah, so a friend of mine gave me that advice when I first moved in with my now husband. She was like, just like find out what he doesn't mind doing. And I feel like nearly 10 years later, one of the jobs is I hate changing the bed covers, right?
Oh, so that's job.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it can be a long time before those bed covers have changed. And I'm going...
If you want a job doing, mate.
But then he will, we are still a bit like, we both say we're like flatmates in a lot of the way. And I kind of like it because, like, I don't do his washing. I said from the beginning, I'm not your mum, and I do the boys' washing and mine. And he will do a bit of theirs if he's putting a load on. But, so I guess we have things like that. And I think my sisters are really old-fashioned. They were horrified all the time. Like, you don't do his washing? Which, funny enough, I have a very big age gap but I had a lot of like people thinking I was adopted because my sisters were like 18, 16 and 10 when I was born. That's for me, that was how old they were. And so how old were they when he came into your lives then? I'm trying to...
Oh gosh, so one was 17 and the other one will have been kind of, I think 22, 23, something like that.
Oh right.
Yeah, so they were older.
And they weren't at home then?
The youngest one she was at home. It was just, I think, and then she went off to, then she took a year out actually before going to uni. So she was at home for a couple of years with him, yeah.
Oh, and do they love him?
Oh, completely.
I mean, silly question, really.
Yeah, they completely love him. And he is just, honestly, he's like royalty now. He's just, he's just like... he's just incredible. Everyone just he's just brought so much joy into our lives and just completed our family.
Another comedian, and now I've just forgotten her name, who adopted a little boy when he was about 3.5. Oh God, why have I forgotten her name? A surname's coming to my head. Faultless, Judith Faultless.
Okay, I don't know her.
I don't know if you know her. And she said that when she was looking at, I don't know why she described it as almost looking at a catalogue of pictures. That she said when they said this is the little boy, I think they tried to map for her. In her case, she's got quite red hair, and this little boy had red hair, and. Her mum looked at the picture and she went, I'm going to cry if I try and say it now. But her mum, so the boy's nan, was like, he's ours. He's ours. That's the one. And I was like, oh, my God, I get so emotional about this. Yeah. Oh, give me a couple of years and I'll be trying to persuade my husband to adopt a girl. You watch. So I wanted to go and I got 2 boys.
Well, I look at, because I haven't seen anything in Britain, but in America they've got websites, but it's like a catalogue, right? So they have, and I sometimes, it may be once a year, I'll find myself on one of these websites scrolling through these. Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it's not individuals, it's siblings. Yeah, I also have a real thing about like siblings being adopted together. I've got a couple of friends who adopted 3 kids, 3 siblings. They had 2 older daughters as well, funny enough. And it's just think, oh my God, like to be able to keep the siblings together is just like. Yeah. I mean, you can't bear the thought of them being separated. Yeah, and I get the impression they do. They absolutely do try to keep them together, don't they?
Yeah, usually if it's in the children's best interest. Yeah, they do try. We're going to
try and wrap up. But what would you say to anybody who's thinking about adopting?
I would say, first of all, just do your research. Really look into it, look into the process because it is so intrusive. And I think if people, if the same checks and, investigations were done on us for birth children, nobody would have kids. Honestly, the checks that you have to go through and the hoops you have to jump through and the sheer bureaucracy of the whole adoption process. I mean, it has to be like that. But equally, as somebody going through it, you have to be robust enough to be able to go through it. So there's that, but I would say absolutely do it. I'm a real advocate for adoption and I feel that adoption works. And
would you have adopted on your own? Do you think?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
You're so lovely and maternal. You've just got a lovely maternalness about you, and I mean that in a lovely way. Somebody who hasn't got a mum anymore. My mum was just naturally very maternal.
Yeah.
Even just through Zoom, I can get the warmth from you.
That's lovely.
Oh God, you can tell I'm due on the
rent a mum.
Yeah, I need rent a mum. You can tell I'm due on, can't you? So we like to end on a kind of, if you've got a free night. I mean, when we were in lockdown, it was imagine you could escape lockdown for the night. But now it can just be a free night out without the kids. And we'll give you, you can go anywhere and do anything with anyone within sort of like, not too crazy, like ride off on a unicorn. Where would you go? And who would you go with?
Oh, I would probably go. I'd probably go with my partner and my kids and my mum to a beach somewhere and have fish and chips.
Oh.
That is what I would do.
Right. Yeah, we'll let you. I was going to say it's meant to be without kids, but your kids are grown up.
Yes.
You're allowed. They're your mates as well. So thank you so much. Let us. Right. Okay. So Soho Theatre.
Yes, the 16th.
What are your?
Yeah, it's the 16th and 17th of July, and it's Soho downstairs, Soho Theatre, and the show starts. I think it's at 7 p.m.
You've been listening to the Funny Mummies podcast with me, Hatty Ashdown. Thank you to my panel and guests today. Edited and produced by Scott Kingsnorth in association with Screaming of Laughter, the lunchtime comedy club where babies can come too. These shows go out live on Soho Radio for the Other Woman show. See schedule for details. Please subscribe, rate and review and share this podcast. We really appreciate it, and it's the only way more people can find us. So see you next time for more Mum and Tonic.